welcome to the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy Holistic Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Beverly, and we have a guest with us you might be familiar with. She's done podcasts with us before, and she was a guest speaker on our summit that we just held, and she'll be with us again today. Katja Lany, who is a joie de vivre energy healer. As a healer and worker, Katja supports people to no longer be ruled by their self-saboteur, but to be guided by their wise woman or wise man, if you're a man, so they can feel appreciation, enjoy satisfaction with the fruits of their labor, and experience a great life that is real. So today she will talk to us about family reset for joie de vivre. Welcome, Katja.
Beverly, it's such a joy to be here again with you, and I always enjoy when the two of us get to spend time together.
Thank you. Well, we're glad to have you here. So maybe we could start with the joie de vivre. What does that mean for you? Most Americans don't speak a lot of French.
Yeah, the joy of life. Let me tell you a little bit about the backstory, how that name came about. I had been working with my female mentor, and she encouraged me at some point to rename the type of meditation that I was offering, because I started working out as a meditation instructor, and the type of meditation that I had been trained in was called heart rhythm meditation. So I was sitting down in meditation to discern what is my unique way of naming this. What can I call what I do when I teach meditation? And what came to me was to name it joie de vivre meditation, the joy of life meditation, because that is what I heard many people say that I had been working with. They all kind of came to me with this I don't know what's going on with me, but somehow my joy is gone, and I want to get the joy of life back. Can you please help me with that? So it totally makes sense for me at that point to call it joie de vivre meditation. And then I got trained as an Azarius energy healer, and my mentor explained it to me that this is the name that came to her in meditation. And she said Azarius is the name Archangel Raphael works under when on earth in human form. And some of the listeners might know that Archangel Raphael is the angel for healing. So that is his main area of expertise. So I was sitting again with how do I describe what I am doing? And what came to me is, well, actually, it makes sense to be consistent in the naming and to call both the meditation, joie de vivre meditation, and also the energy work, joie de vivre energy work. And I actually have a very recent story that makes me feel even more confirmed. And yes, that is the right choice for me. And Beverly, you don't know that story yet, so I'm happy to share it with both the audience of this podcast and you. And it really is making a lot of sense that this name came to me intuitively. And I had a very recent insight on this backstory when I was again feeling into what is really the point of origin in my lineage where this pattern of self-sabotage possibly originated. And this is my area of expertise. And Beverly, you and I have talked about this self-sabotage pattern in other podcasts and at a recent summit end of September as well. And I was sitting in meditation again one of these days recently, and what bubbled up for me was this memory of a story around my paternal grandpa. And as so often the case, this is one of the stories that was this huge family secret that was so awful that it was taboo, that it was just not talked about. And I remember how it only came up when my grandma passed away many years after my grandpa, and she had written in her last will that she wanted to have 3 red roses in her coffin. And everybody only knew of 2 children, my dad and my aunt. And who was that third child that the rose was for? And my grandma came out with this secret taboo story that before my dad was born, there was another baby boy. And that baby boy was home with my grandpa because my grandma was out running errands. And somehow my grandpa must have been neglectful in his responsibility watching that little baby boy, because that little baby toddler somehow got a hold of detergent, ate it, and died from that. And with that, there was, of course, this unbearable guilt in my grandpa and this probably unconscious decision. I need to punish myself for this now. I have taken a life and I can't go on living without punishing myself for it. And that's how this pattern of self-sabotage possibly started in my lineage. I don't know if there was generations before him that also carry that, but definitely for him it was very strong and might have been the origin of it in the lineage. And I also know that he passed it on to my dad, and with my dad there was a similar situation of taking life, and it was not a human life in his case, it was an animal that got killed, but also under very tragic circumstances, because there was this favorite vacation destination that my grandparents loved to go there, and they were always coming back with so much joy in their faces, and they were really lit up from this experience of spending a week or so on the farm. And they always had so many stories to tell, and they said, you guys need to check it out. And then my grandma got to invite my aunt's family to have a vacation there. And then a while later, she also convinced my dad to book vacation there for our family. And I don't know why it happened. Maybe it was also some sort of negligence on my dad's part, but somehow when we were driving in our car, the farmer's family's favorite cat got killed, and my dad did a hit and run. And that, of course, had the impact that my grandparents could not go there on vacation anymore because of that tragic loss of the kitten and my dad's poor behavior around it. So also for him, there was this, I have taken this cat's life, and it had those dire consequences. And then there was me also growing up with this huge self-sabotage pattern that first wasn't really on the level of my conscious awareness, but at some point I realized when I heard others talking about this topic, oh yeah, that is actually me. I have this inner voice and I use it to put myself down, and I'm so damn cruel to myself in the way I talk to myself. And when I became aware that this is the truth for me, I also felt how this is such a misuse of precious life force energy. We all have this innate fierceness, but using it to be our own worst enemy, no, that can't be it. So I became really passionate about turning this around, and I felt in myself this big intensity, this energy of being the sacred disruptor, and to put an end to this pattern in my lineage, because I did not want to pass on that burden to my own children. I wanted to heal that for good. And I realized it's not only important for my family, for my loved ones. This is actually something that I have signed up to heal on behalf of humanity before I was born here on planet Earth. And to circle back to that big shame and guilt that my paternal grandpa was feeling, he was in this, I have taken life, I need to punish myself. And now I am feeling I can end this pattern. I can be this pattern interrupt. And when I am successful as a joie de vivre energy healer, then I am making amends for all of us, because he might have felt I took life away, but I can be the one who is giving life back. When I work with people and they get this result of getting their joy of life back, I am making amends for all of us. And that is what has become my big why.
Excuse me. Making amends is part of forgiveness. A lot of people say, "Oh, I just say I'm sorry." Well, you have to say you're sorry, but you have to make amends also.
Mm-hmm.
And we do pass that on. As science has now shown, we pass it on at least 3 generations. They've
Yeah.
only shown genetically 3 generations, but we pass it on in our DNA. So that's very true. And I'm going to mute myself. So that's really great. I think it's so important for people to understand that they can forgive themselves and they can move on and find that joy in life and in their heart. Um, it leaves a dark stain in your heart when you can't find that joy, because
Yeah.
joy is what the heart's about.
And it
Genuine.
really starts with self. I
Mhm.
know that I need to forgive myself first
Mhm.
before I can transmit that to others.
It's very true. And I think that's very much needed. Interestingly enough, one of my issues that I brought in, sometimes we bring these issues, it's not from our current life, it's from previous lives. But
Mm,
what I brought in was shame and guilt.
yeah.
And that's what I had to work on for a long time and understand how to forgive myself. I could forgive others. I wasn't forgiving me. Well, oh, you got to start with yourself. And until you
Mhm.
can forgive and love yourself, you can't really love anyone else.
Yeah,
So,
that's so true. And I actually believe that the emotion that is most related to this pattern of self-sabotage is the shame and guilt. And I have been in denial that that was the truth for me for so many decades, and it's only very recently that I have been able to admit that to myself first, and then to others, that there is this huge shame and guilt that I've been carrying, and it's so intense that I was not able to look at it for most of my life. But I had this big breakthrough experience, and I talked about that in the summit that we did together in September, where I was sitting together with my male mentor in a partner practice, and he was reflecting back to me while we were eye gazing with one another. I see you and I accept you exactly as you are. And in a way, what I realized later is that somehow letting in his acceptance of me opened the door for me to also accept myself more in my fullness and really embrace all parts of myself, including those that I had previously deemed as unlovable.
well, we all have our upside and our downside, and they go together.
Yeah.
What was it? I think it was Top Gun. There was some movie. A guy said, "I can't accept you in slices. It's all or nothing." Accept part of
Yeah.
somebody. You have to set. Oh, I know it was. That was Lancelot and Camelot. I forgot the name of the movie. It was Richard Gere and Sean Connery. Sean Connery
Yeah.
was playing the king, and he says, "I can't accept you in slices," because Lancelot wasn't perfect. None of us is perfect. So if you
Yeah.
like the good part, you have to like the not so good, because the not so good is what makes us good.
Mhm. I
It's
don't
it's
think I have watched this movie, Beverly, but it also makes me remember a story from my Montessori classroom. There was this one student that I loved so dearly, and one day he came to me with this big smile on his face and huge eyes, and he said, "Katja, I love everything about you." And
oh,
I was so touched by this statement that I shared it with my male mentor, and he was commenting, "Oh, yeah, he must be a very watery being."
well, that's called unconditional love.
Yes.
I'm not going to accept you as long as you do the things I like. I'm
Yeah.
going to accept you as long as you are you,
Hmm.
whatever it is, because we all make mistakes. That's
Yeah.
really beautiful. Little kids could teach us a lot.
That is so true. And yes, the unconditional love, that is again the keyword that came up in this breakthrough moment for me, because I realized, oh my gosh, this is the moment for me where I am both simultaneously feeling the greatest pain and the greatest joy, because receiving this unconditional love, both in my mentor's words and his gaze, showed me this is the first moment in my life. And I am 52 years old today, that I am receiving this unconditional love. I never ever had that. Nobody was offering that to me, and I was never ever in a position to let that in, and this is the first time for me to feel this. So there was this tremendous joy of feeling that for the first time, and simultaneously there was this pain. I am so old. I have lived for over 5 decades, and this is the first time I'm feeling this. All my life up until now was without this unconditional love. Whenever there was somebody claiming to love me, it was always tied to a condition. For example, what I felt strongly from my dad was, I love you when you bring home good grades, when you can be this high achiever academically. It was never a, I love you no matter what. And nothing that you do or don't do can add or take away from that love. My love for you is unconditional.
Yeah. I think
And
a lot.
this being a high achiever, that is actually one form of how the self-saboteur can show up.
I think that's what a lot of those of us who woke up at some point today to become light workers and healers, that's what we went through. We didn't have the unconditional love as children,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to wake up. And I think that's part of the story that most of us have to tell. Now,
Yeah.
you talked earlier about some self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more about that and how you help people with their own self-talk.
Yeah. So the first step is, of course, to even become aware. Yes, I am doing that, because it can happen so automatically that it stays under your own radar. You don't really know that this is what you're doing, but the truth is you are your own worst enemy, and talk to yourself internally in such a cruel way that you would never even think of speaking to your worst enemy externally. It's becoming aware of, yes, this is what I am doing, and then making the commitment. I would say that is the second step. I commit to healing this pattern within me. And for me, what it took was really 3 major shifts of focus. With the self-sabotage, one of the big symptoms is this seeking external validation, right? So the first shift is from the outside to turning within. And then there's also this living in this fantasy, living in this dream versus becoming really true and honest about what is it actually that's true for me, and with that question, embracing yourself in all your humanness. And that is again what we mentioned earlier, to also welcome all the so-called negative parts of yourself that are what makes you a human being. And then the third shift of focus is this shift from ruminating about the past and worrying about the future to really come to what I call your now power. Because that is where your power lies. It is in the present moment. And when you're only living in the past and in the future, then there is never an access to that power that you have. And every human being is powerful beyond belief.
Absolutely. That's very true. I think that's what I talked about on the podcast
Yeah.
today. Be in the now and don't worry, because when you don't, you damage your digestive system. It damages your stomach and your spleen. That's in Chinese medicine, worry and overthinking. That's all
Yeah.
damaging the spleen and
And
the.
there we are back to that self-harm that we can do to ourselves. And it is not necessary. We can shift out of there. We can be so brutal to ourselves, and it can cause us to be in such a dark place, and it's no fun to live in such a dark place. So it should be a no-brainer. Yes, I commit to wanting to get out of there.
Absolutely. I completely agree. So it's always great talking to you, Katja. I understand you have a free gift, 3 tips for safety and stability. Tell us about your free gift for everyone.
Yeah. This also goes back to a personal experience I have made on my own healing journey. It is very vulnerable, deep inner work, looking at those hidden parts of yourself and doing this so-called shadow work. And that is really what it means to do shadow work, to look with radical honesty at everything that has been under the cover, and to let that come to the surface for integration, and to really be able to even start doing such deep, vulnerable work. We need to be in a place of safety and security. Because without that foundation of feeling safe, secure, and stable, there is no way that a human being is able to even begin. So I decided that the best gift I could give to someone who is interested in starting doing shadow work is to give them tips to create this feeling of safety. And what I have found is that the best way to really truly feel safe is to resource that feeling of safety, security, and stability from within. it's such a default to look for that sense of safety externally, and to find somebody who can give that to yourself, but somehow that never quite works. But what really does work is this inner resourcing. And I have found that the best tool to get that inner feeling of safety, security, and stability is using your breath. And your breath, making your breathing conscious, is the tool that allows you to, for the one thing, connect to your body. And apart from that, that allows you also to connect to that present moment. Because while you are breathing with intention, you're right there. You're right in your body, and you're right in the now moment. And when people are in this pattern of self-sabotage, they are typically out of their body. They have left their body because with traumatic experiences, being in the body feels so awful that this leaving pattern is quite prominent. And many people who have experienced trauma are in this pattern of being not in their body, but having left their body. And it is the breath that can bring them back and ground them in their own physical felt sense. And it's there where true safety, security, and stability is found. So that is my free gift at this point. I'm offering a PDF with some tips on how to use this breath tool.
And I seem to have copied down the wrong link for your gift. So can you share the link for us?
Okay, let me see.
Because I just clicked on it and it said page not found. So I don't have the right link. Let's see here.
I'm pulling that up for you. 1 second.
All right, guys, I thought I had the right link. We'll get it here. Let's see here. Yeah. What it says on the form is mygiftlink.com, but that doesn't go anywhere.
Let's see.
So, yeah, somehow gave me the wrong link, and I usually check before we start, and I didn't. I'm sorry. I apologize. To just get the right link here and figure out where it is for that great gift, because you're absolutely right. Um, and so much of what you say is what I went through, only I went through it like 1989. I've had a lot of time for me to process all my stuff. It's one of the advantages of being old.
Yeah.
You get to go through things. So by the time you get to my age, you're going to go, oh, yeah, I remember when I was like that. Because these things happen, we all have to go through our stuff. We all have to deal with our stuff. And that's what this podcast is about. People that have had to go through their stuff, tell their transformational story. And guess what? You don't just have one story. It doesn't stop. You go through multiple transitions in your life. Personally, I've had many transitions. If you listen to the podcast of Patty interviewing me, we came up with 7 dashes. She calls them dash. when you go through a transformation. I had 7 dashes and I'm working on number 8.
Yeah, it is really a spiral journey. We are continuously spiraling forward.
Yep. Yeah, it's not a circle. People always talk about the circle that goes up and down, but it's actually a circle this way. You keep
Yes,
spiraling up because
yes,
now you're a little smarter each time. So it's not quite the same. Oh, you learn the lesson, but you learn it in a new way. Oh, and now you learn it in a new way. And it seems like over time, we don't have to learn them the hard way anymore. We can see it
yeah.
coming. Oh, I need to learn a technique so I don't have to go through that again.
That reminds me of something very beautiful and powerful that I can still share with you. When I had my last energy healing done on me, I had this message come to me that said, the lesson has been learned.
Oh, nice.
That was that was the best gift I could have wished for. It felt so damn good to receive that. The lesson has been learned.
Yeah, that is good because now you have a new one that you get to learn. That's what I've,
Yeah.
you say, oh God, it took me 5 years to accomplish this one lesson. And I thought, oh my God, I did it. And then I went, oh,
Let's
now I
upgrade to the next level.
knew you're done. Like, oh gosh. Did you find the link?
I stopped looking for it, but
Oh,
I will I will email it to you right when we check off from this meeting.
well, everyone, I will post it below, even though it's not in the video, but you will get your free gift and the link
Link
will
will
be
be in the
below.
comments.
And so find it in the comments. And if you're listening to the podcast, you'll have to come to YouTube to get the link because we couldn't announce it on air. Sorry about that. Well, do you have any closing words, Katja?
Let me feel into that. What do I want to leave the listeners with? It's really about feeling fully, because that really is the thing that I am feeling most grateful for in my own healing journey, because I was coming from this place where I was living completely in my head, and I was so guided by my mind making decisions for me, and then immediately second guessing those decisions. And when I really committed doing this inner work with dedication, I slowly but steadily and surely learned to feel my feelings on a somatic level and to make my decisions from that place. So now when I'm faced with a decision, the first thing I do is I turn within and I ask for the step to come from that place. And I listen to that inner guidance and I honor my feelings as my messengers. My feelings are telling me where I need to head next. So I would like to encourage the listeners to really commit to this turning inwards and to listen for guidance from this womb wisdom place, and to honor feelings for what they are. It's how messages get communicated. And it's important to feel all feelings fully and completely on a visceral level, because it's in the feeling of them completely that we heal them.
Absolutely. Great words. Thank you so much, Katja. And thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again next week. So this is Dr. Beverly signing off with Katja. And remember,
Hmm.
the life you see
Such
in
a
the world.
pleasure to be with you again, Beverly. Thank you.
You're welcome.